Over 4 million pairs sold, over 3,500 glowing customer reviews on your site. Your socks are everywhere from Sportsman's, Total Sports, and a bunch of cycle stores across the country.
I think that's a typical overnight success.
When you're walking out and about and you see people wearing your socks, do you have like just a dying urge to like just chat to them or anything?
It's nice to see your brand out there, but on the other hand, you see people not wearing Versus and then you start thinking, what must we do more so that we can get those people into Versus as well?
Your stuff is indestructible. Is that a concern that your stuff is going to be too well made?
I think there's a bit of extra red tape that comes with it, but yeah, we're going bigger.
One of the things that I somehow missed, Versus Lab. What is that? Ladies and gentlemen, animals and aliens, welcome back to the podcast show. I'm very excited today to be in a different spot. I'm actually at the headquarters of Versus Socks, and sitting with me are two very inspiring entrepreneurs in Hanno Lategan and Jurgens Uys, the visionaries behind the brand of Versus. Thank you guys for welcoming to the space today. The office has grown so much since the last time I was here. It's looking absolutely incredible.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's been so amazing to kind of watch your company over the last couple of years and how it's grown and developed, and kind of in preparation for this chat I was checking over your website and just doing a bit of a deep dive and stalk to see what the latest updates are. And I was checking over 4 million pairs sold, over 3,500 glowing customer reviews on your site, 1,000 patterns, 50 plus team members, a couple of your own stores. Your socks are everywhere from Sportsman's, Total Sports, and a bunch of cycle stores across the country. That's absolutely goosebump stuff. Like, it is incredible. Is this kind of what you guys had planned, like way back when you discussed sort of how you wanted to go about creating Versus?
Yeah, I think that's a typical overnight success that you just summed up there. No, yeah, it took us almost 10 years now. We're reaching our 10 years, and yeah, it was every day was a brick in the wall, and it's nice to look a bit back, and there is a small wall standing now. So yeah, it was a good journey so far for us, and yeah, we've just been warming up and have a good team behind us. Looking forward to the road ahead.
I love that. 10 years, overnight success. if you blink, but I think you two are the only guys who are going to know like how much it's taken to bring everything to sort of where it is today. But just from an outsider perspective, looking in, it's just amazing and inspiring and so exciting. And like you said, it looks like it's happened instantly, but it's been a slow burn, and now the momentum, I think, is just carrying you guys forward.
Yeah, it's definitely, as Jurgen said, it's building blocks over the years. We were actually chatting to someone the other day and chatted about, we went up with my dad's bakkie, small chef bakkie, and we just said, this was beginning days, and we said, let's just go up to Gauteng. We used to Western Cape and we're in the stores now, but we have to get into the stores in Gauteng as well. So literally went up with a bakkie full of stock, went to each store and sold to them. Jurgen still made the invoices on Excel back then in the shop, straight to cash. So yeah, looking back then, we thank goodness we don't have to do that anymore. We did our dues, but yeah, it's awesome to look back and think of where we started. But now, it's those building blocks. It's not just overnight that it happens. 10 years later, it's probably looks like an overnight success, but yeah, we still have big dreams for the brand, and it feels like we're not only just getting started, but there's still a lot of things that we can do and can improve on.
Oh, I'm sure. And kind of going back to sort of where it started, I think my impression of Versus, okay, cool, cycling, running, sort of socks and stuff, vaguely centered around sort of Stellenbosch, but that's my understanding of where everything sort of originated. Where was the actual sort of start, and how did you guys actually meet? I'm quite curious about that as well.
Yeah, on school, let's say grade 7, I was absolutely obsessed with cycling, cycling specific mountain biking. My main ambition was to be a professional cyclist after school, nothing in business at all. So highly focused through high school, cycling, and in that cycling space, so yeah, I end up in a few professional teams, and then I so highly invested in the cycling space where I just saw a massive gap in and sort of lack of cycling socks to this high performance sport in South Africa. And we there was one big, let's say, performance sock player that had a monopoly in South Africa, and we like, sure, they do not have any competition. and it makes sense for us. We were importing socks that we thought were quite good quality, very expensive, and then opportunity came that saw, listen, we can actually produce our own socks locally, and then compete in the South African market, and now competing globally. But just so sort of aware in that space, in that cycling industry, that was a gap. And then started the socks in the cycling, sold to independent stores. The independently owned, it's easy to walk into that stores. I also have a few connections, and that's how I started making a bit of profit. And then we got a bit more attention to the bigger retailers 2017, and that's how we actually diversify our range to running socks as well, and our merino, aero. So we do have quite a big sock range currently, with specialty ranges inside as well, as we see more and more opportunities in that space. But for us, we're not gonna diversify. We are just going so deep. We want to be the world champs in the sock market, absolute sock specialists. So Versus Socks, this is the game that we are in. It's 10 years, and a lot of people ask what's next. Like, nothing is next. We want to win this game. We want to be the world champs. So we feel we are sort of on track on that. But a lot of work lying ahead of us, and we can't get complacent.
Yeah, I think every great entrepreneurial journey is, as long as they're saying that, no, we still got lots to do, then you know they're working really, really hard, and they're well on the way to doing that.
There's still more bricks that we can put to the wall, and we're enjoying the journey, so then it's a win-win.
Oh, it's going to be exciting to see the mansion that eventually gets built. It's quite terrifying. If this is only kind of building blocks, then my goodness. Obviously, I think you both have quite a cycling background, obviously, and sporting in general. What kind of, because I feel like cyclists always kind of have the best of the best, and everything's very expensive, very premium, and very technologically sort of focused. Back when you were sort of ideating and saying, okay, cool, there's, like you said, the gap in the market to create Versus Socks, what was kind of missing there? Surely all the other apparel would be kind of matched up with each other. What was missing? Yeah,
it was, back then we were both students, so as Jurgens mentioned, the imported socks were quite expensive. So being on a student budget, we just said we're not going to pay that for a pair of socks. And the local options were just very, very limited, or the current options at that time in the market. So for us, it was getting the right product at the right price point. And we were able to do it at that time. And as you mentioned, cycling is a lot about the look and everything that goes with it. Cycling kits at that time was starting to get into the market and becoming a thing, but the socks were still lacking. It was there was no development in the past at that time. Probably the past 10 years, it was the same thing in the market. So that's where we started to feel, okay, let's explore this and also get into a high quality product, but at a good price point.
And the sort of international options, like you mentioned, you're having to import stuff and it's super expensive there. Is that literally just because of regulations and textiles being so difficult to import, or is this just brand?
South Africa is crazy with import taxes on any textile products. It's 40 to 45% import tax. So whatever you're paying for something overseas plus 45% to it. So there is a big chunk that goes to the government. To a certain degree, it protects the local market in what's being imported, but we just of the opinion, yes, it's protecting it, but there's not being done enough in the local market to actually have the options to manufacture locally. It is limited in South Africa what we can do manufacturing wise.
I've always kind of seen from a distance that, and forgive me if my impression here is incorrect, but that you guys are a brand that likes to kind of take control of every aspect of what you guys are doing and build it up from the ground up and make sure that you developing everything very holistically and from beginning to end. I imagine that's also part of the tech development, that you've had to do a lot of the stuff kind of locally and within the South African confines, given the challenges of bringing stuff into the country.
Yeah, I think I can just comment on that. Was shared a lot with our team. Yeah, it was just Hanno and myself in the beginning, but we have sort of full control of the whole circle. I usually say like outsource and insource, but for us, our standards are quite high, and a few of our outsource, let's say partners or suppliers have let us down because we are so pedantic about our stuff, quality and speed and all of that type of thing. So from insourcing our DC own factory, I mean, it didn't happen overnight, but we saw the places where we lack, and it was just not on our standard. And that's where we sort of took control with the head office and a distribution center and a factory that we've opened and our own flagship store that we were not happy with suppliers and partners around us because we feel we can do much better. It's one thing to insource, but you need to outwork your third parties. So yeah, insourcing is one thing, but you really need to be better than the experts. For us now, we sort of found our feet, and we are very happy with the full control that we do have in the market.
No, I always love to pivot conversations where I can back towards some kind of content creation sort of feel, because that's obviously my domain of passion and what I enjoy doing, given all the cameras and lighting stuff around here. And one thing I can comment on and probably commend you guys on, which I really always thought every brand needs to be doing this, is in terms of the actual content creation. You were at least one of the first local brands that I've seen to kind of bring a large portion of sort of the social media content creation almost in-house entirely, without having to constantly get lots of external freelance teams in the whole time. What was kind of the thought behind that, and why were you, because I think you guys were one of the first to do that, or at least effectively do that, what kind of gave you the confidence that, okay, cool, this is a good idea, we're actually going to kind of go for it there?
I think one of the things for us was at one point, and it's still happening a lot, we're launching a lot of new products and at speed. So one big factor for us was to organize external photographers or videographers or any content creators on a weekly basis was quite a task from our side. And another thing was just on making sure everything is always on brand. We have a lot of chats, we have an open plan offer, so there's a lot of conversations going on. Everybody's aligned with who is versus what's the look for versus and everything that goes with it. So yeah, it was important for us to streamline that process in we can quickly execute a photo shoot and make sure it's on brand. Something that we push a lot within the company is execution. Yes, you can make plans and have everything ready, but it's doing stuff at speed, and it's still at a good level of content creation. If it's content creation or product design or anything, you can plan a lot, but to do it at the end of the day is a very important thing, and to do it at speed.
I absolutely love that. I think it's everything about social media nowadays, at least in my perspective, is about that speed and execution, and not over judging everything the whole time, but just making sure that things are kind of actually getting done and getting out there. And as long as not everyone in the world is not going to see every single post or every single image that goes out. It's just about not flooding them with volume, but the more you're putting out, the more eyeballs potentially can land on everything and can sort of engage with your brand.
Yeah, 100%. It's something that Jurgens actually pushed a lot, and just being on, if something happening, the timing must be right. If you post something today, it would do great, but if you post it in 2 weeks, it's too late. You're going to miss the opportunity, and you don't have to do it perfect today. Get to a whatever percentage is good enough, and it will go, or you'll get the return that you want. And it's also testing. Maybe it does great, maybe it doesn't, but at least you learn something through the process as well.
I like it. And I imagine also, similar to what you said, you're putting out a lot of products quite quickly at regular intervals. So if you can kind of shorten that sort of planning process, not have to, like a lot of the fashion brands that I've often worked with, we're doing campaigns 6 to 12 months in advance for the next summer or winter season. In the wrong season, you're trying to shoot now summer campaigns while it's raining in Cape Town. It's always terrible. And then obviously, like, it's just such a long production process, and it becomes so expensive, so inefficient. And for the types of products that you guys are putting out, I think it's brilliant to not be limited in that capacity. And maybe still have the option to do that if you want, but to have that sort of ability in-house, I think is such a brilliant thing that you guys have done super, super well.
Yeah, thank you. I think, for us, it's a personal marketing. It's a aspect that we really love of the company. It's the thing that we would, the nice thing of growing the company is that we actually can afford our in-house content creators, videographers, photographers to have them on sort of, all around us every day. If we see an opportunity, we can pounce quickly. And that turnaround time is just incredible. You can edit exactly what you need now. They're on the same page as us. There's sort of your briefing just falls. If you've done a few of them, you do not have to brief. Everybody's on the same page, and it really has eased up the efficiencies that we operate with. I mean, we all in this office is focused on one product, and that's visually the visual creators to take content and visually explain to the people, socks is our thing, and photography of socks, if it's outside, inside, that's what we do every day, every single day. So, we are experts on that field. And it's just so easy for us to operate with the in-house team that's 100% versus focused. It helps us a lot.
I think maybe the timing of kind of the development of Versus has also been largely tied with the development sort of social media as well. You guys say you're kind of 10 years in development, and I mean 10 years ago was kind of when all the social media platforms sort of started bursting into the scene. So it's a new type of media, a new way of building communities and stuff. And I think you guys have built an exceptional community around your brand. I see how many people rock up to all your runs and your events and stuff. Like I'd rather ask you guys to describe your sort of community. I'm just going to call them diehard enthusiasts, but how would you go about describing sort of the Versus community member if you had to condense it down to a little bubble?
For us, it's just people that love sport. Doesn't matter which sport you do, we're just big believers of the power that sport has on our personal lives, on just making that a holistic thing that's part of your life. So anyone that enjoys sports, yes, we are more focused on cycling, running, gym. But if you enjoy being out there, enjoying sport, then we want you to be in our socks. And something, as you mentioned, like our events, the runs that we have from our shop in Stellenbosch every Friday, the trail run that we have in Franschhoek, it's all part of bringing everyone together and just having a good day out, having fun. For us, sport is also, yes, you can have your training program and everything, but at the end of the day, it's something that's fun. It's something you enjoy. And that's what we want to bring out in our events as well. Trail run in Franschhoek with DJs and choppers and everything. It's all about having fun and making it a fun day out.
I have to ask, as you mentioned the chopper, I have to ask about that. Like, where did sort of the bravery come from to say, okay, cool, you're going to host a massive event, which is another world of planning, I'd imagine, but also have a giant helicopter flying around?
That's definitely Jurgens. He's more the risk taker. I'm the guy looking at the finances. I'm asking him, Jurgens, are you sure about this? But he can answer this one.
Yeah, that's why you don't put any analytical person on the head of the marketing. For us, I mean, the events is not a new thing. It's the same as the socks. We haven't reinvented the wheel. We haven't. Trail runners have done 1,000 of it. There's so many trail runs that have been done before us. Us just said, let's go overkill on every single aspect, from sound to videography, content creation. And then obviously a step up from a drone is a chopper. So
definitely one way to get around needing a drone license.
So it's I mean, that type of things, it doesn't always make immediately sense. I just love that type of things. It just doesn't make sense. For us, it's everything comes together on that day. It's all this overkill on every single aspect. It make it magical, and we'll do it all over again.
Were you nervous because the first Versus Run party was 2022?
Yes, that's right.
And that was the year I was fortunate enough to be filming part of that event as well. And obviously, red chopper flying around. Were you guys quite nervous watching this kind of unfold? Because who was the pilot for that?
We had I think his name was
Skalk.
Skalk Bezuidenhout.
No, not Bezuidenhout. We always say Bezuidenhout.
Bezuidenhout.
I'm quite scared if
Skalk
it's-
Woensaier.
I'm quite scared if it's Skalk Bezuidenhout flying around.
Skalk Woensaier. He actually I met him. He fly for a few cycling events, so he is highly skilled. And I've actually checked out his maneuvers is impressive, and that's how I connected him. So he can probably do the job.
I think highly skilled is very underplayed there. This man is like doing 360 turns and out your.
Well, he said, I must guide him. I said, okay, let's go eye level to the people. He said, okay, hold my beer.
Oh my goodness, it was absolutely crazy. One of my favorite things sort of about that. How different was it sort of going from I think, because you obviously you want to show brand presence, I think, at a lot of the big sporting events across the country, like the Comrades and Cape Town Cycle Tours and all of those. But it's one thing, I think, being at an event, attending, I'd imagine, versus hosting your own sort of event. What kind of challenges come up in kind of being sort of the host of a big thing rather than just an attendee?
Yeah, I think, obviously the numbers is quite high, and there's, let's call it red tape or stuff, but we do have a good event manager. There's some applications that we need to do. I mean, you are responsible for a lot of people on that day, and it is all fun and games, but behind the scenes is quite serious. It's your route, your safety must be 100%, and you look after all these people from the start to the finish. But yeah, we are in good hands. Even our team is well equipped and resourced, so we divide all the jobs in all our type of expertise levels that we do have. But the main thing is we do have a highly experienced event manager that surrounded us. So if we do come up with good ideas or so, they guide us in what's possible and what's not. So yeah, we are definitely in very good hands.
I think it helps you, or at least from an outsider's perspective, excellently managed and like brilliant thing, and such a nice sort of, I think a lot of the big sort of events, at least locally in South Africa, that I've sort of attended or gone to watch, it's always, okay, cool, this is a big established thing that big established brands with massive international $1 million budgets are coming, and like there's no real personal sort of touch. But this was like a way to kind of bring your whole community together, and you almost like feel part of the event, even though I did absolutely nothing, and just rock up and enjoy the fruits of all your hard work. It's like you can almost attach a little bit of identity as a Versus fan into kind of the events that you're sort of bringing up. So it was such an amazing event to also attend. Are there plans to kind of continue this going forward, or what's kind of the objective behind structuring an event like that?
I think just as you said, I mean, we are not an events company. For us, it's a brand exercise. We love it, and that's why our whole team can get involved, and we really pull our weight in because we love it. And there's only one a year where we go all in, all the budget. We commit all our energy to the one, making the one successful. I think a lot of times everybody's like, okay, next one in Joburg or Durban, and it sounds nice, but we do not have that type of resources and to do that type of bang. So for us, having one massive standout calendar date, that's what we want, a must-do event. That's what we would like to achieve. That if we launch that the next date, that we can sell out in a few minutes. That is a must. I can skip the other events, but the Versus one, I can't skip. So that's where we would like to be, and still be on a mass participation event. So we would really like to compete with the top events. So we are still young. I mean, I think we've done 3 events, but our ambition is to have a standout one massive event that everybody knows, like, this is the event that I have to do. I can skip the other few and they will still be there. But yeah, our objective is to have one massive brand exercise. Brand exercise, just one massive event once a year, and it's not to say it's going to be trail run always. So
next year might look a bit different.
All
We
right, I'm quite nervous.
can't give all the info yet, but we're going bigger and better. Putting the plans together, I think there's a bit of extra red tape that comes with it, but yeah, we're going bigger.
Ooh, nice little teaser there. Just laying out here without giving me any info. Now I'm very intrigued. Coming, I think, back down to earth, not the big sort of glamorous events that you guys have put together, but more the weekly sort of thing, your Versus Run concept that operates sort of out of Staley's here. where did that sort of ideate from, and how has that been developing and going forward?
Yeah, that actually started, I think, 2018.
So that long now?
Yeah, I think run crew is a big word now, and it's a buzzing word, and yeah, a lot of run crews in South Africa, which is awesome to see. But we were chatting the other day and said we started in Stellenbosch before we had our own store. We just decided, let's do something. We want to have a weekly run in Stellenbosch, so we made a logo for the Versus Run crew and had our first ones, and it was literally just our friends pitching
It was
up.
like 5 people.
Yeah.
Like run crews weren't cool at that stage. Like, it was like a WhatsApp group. Okay, we are 5 people. Race briefing. Oh, there we go.
Did you decide that route beforehand, or?
I think the route is actually stuck from 2018, so we'll give ourselves kudos.
Hasn't changed.
It's a nice route. We thought about changing it, but it
It
works.
messes
So.
all your Strava metrics up.
Yeah, now you can
can't
go
change that
back
now.
to 2018 and look at the Strava comparison. So, yeah, it's grown a lot. I think running overall has grown a lot worldwide and in South Africa as well. So it's great for us to see all the run crews around South Africa. It's all of them, or a lot of them, are successful. If you see the amount of people that pitch, so it's really, really nice to see. And for us, it's a safe place to run. It's fun. We keep on going if it's raining or cold or whatever. It's great to see people still pitch. So yeah, we enjoying it.
No, that's awesome. And one thing I've always been curious to ask you guys, as like brand owners with say apparel that is widespread sort of across the country, when you're walking out and about, like just in the general at the shopping center, or maybe along the promenade somewhere if you go to Cape Town, and you see sort of your people wearing your socks, do you have like just a dying urge to like just chat to them or anything, or do you have to kind of hold yourself back? Was it just kind of like, oh cool, it's spreading around?
It's a question that we get a lot, and it's a weird feeling, because on the one hand it's nice to see your brand out there, but on the other hand you see people not wearing Versus, and then you start thinking, what must we do marketing wise, or what must we do more so that we can get those people into Versus as well? So it's always this catch-22 between, it's nice to see our brand out there, but also we want other people in Versus as well. So yeah, it's
okay. So it's more noticing the people that aren't wearing Versus than the people that are. You're like, once they are like, okay, cool, part of the family, who are the outsiders?
yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just that thing of how we are wired in our DNA. That's always more work for us, and we can't sort of just enjoy the moment. Always, what's next? Who next must I convince, or how do I reach them? Is it the offline? Is it the email? Is it how are we going to reach these people? Yeah, it's. I think that's in our DNA. We're always looking for opportunities. Where is more work for us lying ahead? Yeah, in South Africa, there's a lot of work for us still to be done. Yeah, we want majority of the country in our socks. So.
Well,
It's always, sorry, just on that, it's always funny when a new team member joins the team and they say now that they're part of Versus, they first look at people's socks whenever they drive past the cyclist or around, and they first look at the socks and then they look at the person, and it happens to everyone, so we can't get away from it now.
Oh wow, no, that's very funny, and I quite enjoy the way you guys have phrased all of that. Obviously, like, people geotag a lot of things on social media, and I assume that oftentimes they're tagging you guys when they're wearing your products in interesting sort of spots. Are there any real what's the weirdest spot you've seen Versus get to on the globe? There must be some interesting ones.
I can't.
Yes, I know our product is definitely worldwide. I think we sell, let's say, 60 active countries where our DHL parcels.
60?
Yeah, that's actively purchasing from our international website, and it's all distributed from our central DC in Cape Town. So it's obviously your DHL or tunnel. These flights go out every day, but yeah, it's crazy for me. Just to see in what countries are next gonna land up in the international. It's always actually very nice to go to go on Shopify and see our international site. And to see, and then sometimes I go to the location just to see the front door. Like, where is these socks going? So
Not stalking at all.
yeah, not stalking at all. For me, it was actually, I've done it a few times, but I was like, yes, I'm so curious. Where is this parcel going? I mean, it's so far from us, and how did they reach us?
That's so cool. But your brand can have that much sort of not a far-reaching consequence, but just a far-reaching sort of impact on people and where it sort of spreads to and how it's...
Yeah, I actually just think, I mean, it's the world is big, but we now with the infrastructure and flights and logistics, how fast it is, that everything is possible, and we do not have limitations. We can actually communicate. Your social media is worldwide. Logistics is worldwide, so there's no limitations. That's a nice thing of where we are 2024, is that it's that type of thing. I mean, you speak about 2 or 3 days, door-to-door delivery from South Africa in any country. And that's possible. So for us, there is no limitations. There's a lot of work for us to really lift the numbers. But yeah, we are now 4 million threshold, and now we really need to ramp it up.
Those are big numbers. And one thing you guys have also done, which is incredible to me, is a lot of sort of big brand cross-collaboration type of things. Like you've released a Springbok sock and your, I'm going to say, semi-recent one with Licorice All Sorts, which I thought was the coolest thing ever. I think I even DM'd you on Instagram being like, oh my goodness, this is amazing. Where did those sort of, or how do you go about structuring sort of partnerships with other sort of, I'm not going to say big brands, but like notable things that everyone sort of recognizes and sort of bringing that to life with your product? Where did that sort of ideate from?
Yeah, it was, I think the Springboks was the first big one. Obviously the Springboks is massive in South Africa. Everyone in South Africa, you must be a big fan. We love the Springboks, love chasing the sun, everything around it. So for us, that was a first step into the licensing world. So it's probably not that common for everyone, but most of the big brands or teams, they have a licensing agreement as well. Not everyone can get the licensing agreements, but for us being in big retailers, having a footprint gives us that opportunity to partner with the licensing and getting the license for a specific product. So yeah, Springboks was the first one. Obviously with World Cup last year, it was a big thing. Yeah, it was really good sales for us, and it was just another way to show your support for the Springboks as well. And then we sat and we said, okay, we did the Springboks now, we still have the license, it's going great, but is there another opportunity that we can take? And we made a Licorice All Sorts sock, the unofficial one. We made that way in the beginning. It was one of our first funky socks that we made. And we said, let's bring out the official version now. So got in contact with the licensing company, got the license for Licorice All Sorts. And yeah, it's nice for us to have the content and the marketing stuff around it as well. Then Dad went to another thing. They gave us some Licorice All Sorts that we could send out with our online orders. So yeah, it becomes a nice marketing thing to do at the end of the day as well. And the sock looks cool, and the packaging.
Very, very cool. And if you get a nice little treat with it, then that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Dare I ask, is there a dream collaboration if you could put one to name?
Yeah, I will say Strava or Zwift.
Wow. Okay. No, that's
Let's
definitely
say
a brand
Strava
fit.
is at the top. Proper collab with Strava.
Okay.
Yeah, that will be nice.
Have they done any collabs with anyone before?
I'm not sure. We've tried to engage a bit before. I haven't gave up yet. But yes, Strava, I think, yes, they are absolutely, the sport is social media of the world. And the data that they have, yes, it must be magical. I usually said it's the one company I would have liked to found. Strava, yeah, I think they're doing an amazing job. It's great to see. A collab with them will be amazing.
Same answer from you, or different one in the pipeline?
Also a big fan of Strava. I'd be very happy if we could do a collab with them, so I'll definitely jump on board on that one.
All right. Well, I hope to see it manifest itself one day.
Let's see. The podcast must just go viral.
Oh, let's hope so. Let's hope so. All the little short clips. We'll see what we can do. Obviously, like you were saying, over 60 countries that you guys are shipping and distributing to, and I know that you obviously got your big local foothold here in South Africa, and also now an extended sort of foothold in the UK. How's the experience been, I'm going to say, there versus here, in terms of how it's been different, or what are the challenges there versus opportunities? What would be the unexpected things from a narrow South African sort of viewpoint?
We can make up something and say in the UK is great and everything, but to be honest, it is a big challenge.
No sunshine and roses. No, joking.
No, it's being on the ground in South Africa and being South African, being here and everything makes it, we know exactly what the market wants. We know our retailers, we know the dynamics, we know areas, all of that. So for us, growing the Versus in South Africa came naturally, and we knew, okay, next steps. And going into the UK was you starting from scratch. We could build it up in South Africa and people knowing Versus and getting to know Versus. But starting from scratch there, first of all, you don't have the budgets that brands have on that side. You're coming there with your South African rands and trying to do something.
Rands trying to compete with pounds doesn't quite translate too favorably.
Run out of runway quickly.
Yeah, so it's we went through the whole thing of having stock available in the UK. That became a logistical nightmare, especially with the amount of products that we had to launch, and space there is expensive. So we still want to be a worldwide brand. We want to be the world champs, everything. But I think in business, timing is also a very important thing. We definitely maybe jumped too early on it. We learned a lot of lessons through it. But also with time, new technologies or new companies come out that make it easier. For example, with international distribution. What was available 10 years ago when we started the company and what's available now, you also have to adjust with that. So currently we distribute everything out of South Africa. We have our central distribution center in Cape Town. So with, as Jurgens mentioned, Tunnel, which is a new startup, they give good rates sending overseas, and it helped us a lot in just making it logistically easier for us. We still have good orders from there. It's just that the stock-wise, we're sending from here, and just making sure we cover our bases good in South Africa. Jurgens is also always big on it. We don't have to jump to any other countries before we feel that we have South Africa sorted out. We a dominant player in the market here. The other countries are not going to run away. We will have our time there, but let's first get South Africa good, up and running, and be a dominant player in the market before we dabble in the overseas market.
No, makes sense. I think, at least this is my viewpoint of us South Africans, we tend to be a bit more reserved, a little bit more cautious, a little bit more risk averse. And I think probably now it's changing. You guys will have a much better idea of it than I would. Obviously, our willingness to embrace e-commerce is changing slowly, but I think we largely still a very retail sort of focused sort of market where we want to touch and feel things. We want to see it in the big stores and then trust it sort of from there. And I think your integration or showing up sort of in Sportsman's was one of the first big things that I was like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. Rocking up there. I think that was around 2017, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, that's right.
How did that sort of go about? How did you go about kind of getting that first big sort of foot in the door, I think? What did it take to kind of get the attention of a big chain retailer like a Sportsman's in South Africa?
I think we started 2015, and obviously you've got a nice catalog prepared, and you can any contacts or other big retailers, it's always our dream to compete or to be in that stores. That's where we grew up, and that's where all the big brands are: Under Armour, your Nike, and Adidas. They had Sportsman, and again, we do it as a local brand, sports brand coming in. It's one of our goals in the beginning. And then, you just do not get the attention in the beginning, and you can't let that get you down. And I said to Hanno as well, and for our team, is that we must be so loud and so good that they can't, or that they have to see us. I mean, we must carry on. It's their job as well to look for who's new or what products they have to buy. And we carried on. We went to expos, make sure what we do what we can. We do not have any contacts, or we are not in that stores yet. And when I think 2.5 years went by, and we finally got an email and said, "Listen, I'm going to show your products." And that was
Must have been a nervous moment.
That was, we went to Woolworths, we bought new shirts, we've embroidered our logos, we are very well prepared.
Printed the
catalog. We're playing a big game, but we walked in there and they gave us the opportunity, I think 6 stores. It was amazing. Not just opened the floodgates, but we got our first opportunity where we can test our products with the best in the market. And we're definitely proud to be in their stores. We are in all of these 50 stores nationwide, and it just helps us with the distribution and that physical footprint. They played a massive role in Versus success so far, and the stability for our growth as well.
I can imagine it must have been such a validating sort of moment when you get that sort of yes coming through, that you're like, okay, cool, like we're doing something here, this is amazing, like really, really sort of moving. And then I'd imagine that once you're kind of in with one, it's easier to kind of get in with the rest, and it's kind of a proof of concept. So, okay, cool, now we can go into this chain.
It was, in the beginning, it was quite a process it was great. We smiled when we got into Sportsman's Warehouse, but then it's also a thing of, okay, now the work starts, because it can be one thing to get into the retailer, but to then grow with them and make sure your presence also grows within the retailer is a big, it's something that you have to work on. So for us, it wasn't too quickly that we got other retailers involved. It actually took quite a bit of time. But as time goes along, you get the attention for the customers. It's also great to see the product out there and just building your brand at the end of the day as well.
I can imagine there must have been a lot of logistical headaches sort of attached to something like that, because I listened to quite a few other podcasts, especially around like US sort of startups, and there's always any product-based thing is like, okay, cool, when did they get their meeting with Tesco's? And then Tesco's sort of let them in, and then they wanted 40,000 units 2 weeks later, and then they're like, oh, how do we make a plan around this? So
it's nicer you must just say yes and then figure it out in the back end, get the logistics right, get the product from somewhere, and that's the fun. You make fun from that as well.
Figuring it out is I think obviously easier said than done, and it's nice to smile about things, I think, on the other side of it, but there are a lot of hard moments I can believe for you guys in the sort of interim getting there. How have you sort of managed to stay aligned sort of as business partners, having to obviously craft this baby of yours into a toddler and then a teenager and an adult and then into old age and retirement village one day? What sort of allowed you guys to kind of stay aligned in what you want to do and to build kind of everything cohesively?
I think for me, and that's usually what I've learned in cycling, where let's say Cape Epic, where it's a team event, is the biggest thing that actually aligns itself is to say, listen, our goals the same? Preparing or leading up even 6 months before a race, are we aligned? Listen, I'm going to train, we are aiming for a top 10. Then sort of all that other stuff will. But if we are misaligned, let's say, Hanno said, listen, we're going to do a race. He thinks we're going to do top 200 and I'm going to be a top 10. Then you're completely misaligned. He does less training. He does his own thing. We're not aligned, the same intensity that I'm using. So I think today in the business, we are very growth orientated. We want to build something with scale. We want to build something that's much bigger than us too. And that was always, we are very aligned of where we want to go with the company. I think if we've got the big plan, this is where we want to aim, all the rest sort of look after itself and just falls into place so easily. So for me, it's sort of the end goal, or what's the next 5? Okay, we still got the ambition to be the world champs. Yes, okay. Then we're on the same track. Or no, listen, I just want to play a local Stellenbosch game. Then we sort of, everything fall. If he tells me that now, then there's big discussions that need to be happened, because we are so misaligned. So for us, world champs, and what is a world champ versus being a world champ, how do we perform the best in every sector? And the world champs go the extra mile, and we will carry on longer than the competition, and we will do this and whatever it takes, and we build the best team, and we will be the fittest. And that's sort of our mentality, and I think for the last few years that haven't changed, and I hope it doesn't change. But for now, that's the end goal, and it's never going to sort of be an end goal. But we've got very high standards, and we want to be the world champs, and then also like the Springboks to be back-to-back world champs. So yes, just being a world champ is one thing, and then staying at the top is another thing. But we love the journey and looking forward to just competing with the best.
I think also where we work great together is let's say with strengths and weaknesses, where my weaknesses lie will be Jurgens' strength, and where Jurgens' weaknesses will lie is my strengths. For example, on, let's say, front end marketing wise, vision and pushing and execution, that's where Jurgens is top, that's his strength. I'm always, let's maybe look a bit more at the other options, but Jurgens pushes that. Jurgens will admit it as well. Software or any systems or anything technology wise is his weakness, but that's by far my strength. So I think that also gives us a great opportunity where we look at each other's strengths and strength and weaknesses, and how do we use each of our strengths and to propel the business forward at the end of the day.
That's incredible. Thank you guys for sharing that with me there. One also thing that I'm amazed by is the sort of culture you've created, kind of at least in the office and also at all your events that I've seen, where everyone who's part of the Versus team is always super friendly, amazing. And I don't know, I've walked in this office twice before, and every time everyone said hello, which has been super, super nice. That the whole team also seems to be buying into the sort of the whole vision that you guys have created. And that's obviously you're doing, kind of allowing it to sort of filter down. What do you think it takes to sort of build a team around you to also kind of help you realize what you're looking to do?
Sure, thanks for the comment. My heart is smiling inside. A culture is, you'll always have to work on it, and you have to set the tone. I think for Hanno and myself, we would like to set quite a good example, and I feel that we sort of got that right. Obviously, also do not do everything right, but we want to set a good example, how we communicate to each other, how goal-driven we are, this and that. And that type of values, there's some values that's just non-negotiable for us if you are in our team. And then, yes, obviously we want a high-performance team. We also want some energy of the right people, and then elevate everybody together. So we always try to make sure attract the best. And then also to elevate everybody together in this company. Yes, our goals are very big, and we hope that some of our individuals that's on our team, that their goals also fit into our big goals, and that we all win at the end of the day. But it's a consistency thing that we have to work on. It's like any, let's say, a rugby team. You are chosen to be on this field. We are not a family. We cherry pick who we want on the team. And then, yes, always continuously working on all our weaknesses and what areas do we need to improve on, and to make sure that we breed the perfect culture environment that we can perform on the big stage.
That's awesome. And how do you guys sort of go about dealing with anyone who doesn't necessarily buy into the vision, or doesn't sort of get the best sort of in creating the sort of environment that you're looking to foster?
It's a tough question, but it's part of, as Jurgen said, we're not a family. It's you cherry picked at the end of the day with the Springboks as well. If you don't fit in with the vision of the Springboks, or you don't pull your weight on the field, then move must be made at the end of the day to make sure you protect the rest of the team. That's for us very important. Is yes, in the moment it's it's difficult to make those moves, but at the end of the day, you must think of your team that will be left and your team at the moment. How do you build the strongest team that is aligned with where we want to go? And as Jurgens mentioned as well, with aligning our team's goals with ours. And for us, one of the best things is to see someone thrive within the team as well. We can create a place, and with the brand, we give the opportunity on, yes, we can give you something where you can be expressive with your talents as well. For example, seeing our creatives, if they excited about a new design or a video that they made or a cool photo shoot or something, we love that, because we could create something where they thrive in their job as well. And it's great for us to see. Not everyone has that with the company that they're with, but it's a great feeling for us when someone loves what they're doing as well.
I love how both of you have said that it's not a family, it's a cherry-picked sort of team of high-performing individuals, whereas I think so many companies try to say, no, we're a family here, and like it's all like romantic.
No, family you can't choose, and we have chosen the top 10%. So if you make the selection, yeah, it's quite a big achievement. What we feel, we want the best in each division. And if you're on the team, it's a big thing. You are in a high-performance team, and that's what. And I feel after 10 years of, if you cultivate this culture, you sort of will attract that top performers. So.
Brilliant way of phrasing. I really, really like it. I'm going to write it down secretly in my notes and for use at a later date.
And also, just to add on, for us, having it, if you're in a position of power, it's our responsibility to really look after this culture. We have to react, have the difficult conversations. It's absolutely our responsibility to look after the team. And whatever needs to be done, what conversations need to happen, that's where we have to be present and, to figure out what's the plan next.
Superb. Obviously, I think from my perspective, having tasted entrepreneurship to a limited extent, and hopefully a lot of people would want to be watching this one day, also being interested in the entrepreneurial sort of journey, have you guys developed any sort of, not tips or tricks, but just things you can point out, at least in the hiring process, of what you think would make a successful or unsuccessful sort of person sort of coming into your team? Is there anything that's really stood out as, okay, cool, we can, this kind of works in identifying the right sort of person for fitting into a culture?
I think it's not. We've also discussed it. It's always a difficult process, but stuff that we've implemented and that we found is having a good hiring process in taking your time. You always feel in that moment you need someone as soon as possible, and it must happen as soon as possible, but it doesn't have to happen as soon as possible. You have time, so take your time through the process. Make sure we also feel there's a gut feel. If there's a gut feel on this person aligns with who we are with the team, that's also for us a good pointer. And with time, it wasn't like that for us in the beginning. With growing the team and growing our culture and seeing what the Versus culture is, it gets easier in that sense to know, okay, will this person fit into the team or not? And also, it's not just Jurgens and myself in the interviews anymore, and we make the decision. We bring the rest of the team into our interviews, because at the end of the day, it's not just us working with the new team member, it's the rest of the team members working with them as well. So they have to approve and make sure they also have that good gut feeling that we might have or might not have.
Okay, awesome. I can imagine scaling a business, there are a lot of things that need to go into it to make it sort of a sustainable endeavor and manageable with so many people sort of coming in. Was it more challenging going from, say, like the 1 to 10 sort of employees, or from that 10 to 50 sort of range? What's been the hardest sort of growth phase, if that makes sense?
Sure. For me, I will say the 1 to 10. the 1 to 10 is, I feel also you do not have, I mean, let's get the best, but I mean, you can't always afford the best. I mean, they do come at a price. But sort of the 1 to 10 is difficult because, yeah, you're looking for your specialist and you try to retain them as long as possible or keep them occupied or, yeah, just to pay them enough for that. Otherwise, they also get headhunted from other companies. And then, yeah, if you've got some key people that's brilliant, then they can also help you look for the other champions. Yeah, that sort of, I think, yeah, from the 10, let's say solid top 10 people will get you some other high performers as well collectively. When in the beginning it's sort of just us looking, and we lack of knowledge. We don't know what to read the CVs and come from this company and glamorize the company and forgot about the soft skills that's not always on that CV. That's so valuable. Yeah, we've learned a lot in that, let's say 1 to 10, and almost applied all our lessons learned and fingers burnt on the 10 to 50. Yeah.
I'm sure there's definitely some lessons that have been sort of learnt along the way. One of the things that I also saw you guys react to, and I think if my date's correct here, your Stellenbosch store, you've done a couple of remodels on it now, so it's a bit confusing, but I think you did your first major remodel like mid 2022-ish, somewhere there.
Yes.
And then Jurgens, I think it was you the day after. I remember you guys had I think you still have them, the like bike racks with the like concrete versus socks sort of things there. And I think the day after the remodel that had opened, like 1 or 2 of them were broken or something. You posted in your story, like obviously massively disappointed about that. Like, I imagine there's so many moments like that where the universe just like is irritating.
Yeah, actually, that's the one thing. And then the original store, 2019, I mean, I studied agriculture. Like, I love gardening. So I did the store that had a garden.
I forgot about this one.
Yeah.
Planted nice. It looks, I'm so chuffed. Took my picture. The next morning, all the plants were stolen.
They stole the plants.
All the plants. I
Out of the
couldn't
ground.
believe. I mean, that was my claim to fame. Like, this garden, I'm going to look spectacular. And that's typically Stellenbosch. All the plants are missing.
Do you think it's just students, or is it some tunny who's like...
I've heard there's a burger that's reselling them. And then from that, I say, okay, this is not sustainable because we are putting more plants in. And yeah, so there's no garden anymore. There's now bricks. But yeah, that's a story.
I guess there are a lot of, especially like with retail stores and stuff like that you just wouldn't think of as things that can go wrong, that you've had to adapt and sort of learn to deal with on a day-to-day sort of basis.
It's as you go along. I think it's with the company and the Stellenbosch store is actually a good example of it. We jumped in, and then it's a thing of figuring it out. You see, people steal plants, so maybe it's not the best option. It looks great, but maybe it's not that practical to have plants outside your shop. But that's a small example of other things in the company where we've jumped into a lot of things. UK is also an example. At the end of the day, you must jump into something as well, figure it out, and then after a while, look back and say, okay, we're making progress with this, we're winning, or we're not winning with this, let's cut it and go somewhere else. And yeah, it's part of the process.
It's another part of the process which actually working with Burnt Studios opened my eyes to was when they got one of their offices in Woodstock side, and they had their stock and the actual office kind of together, and then all of a sudden the stock just starts growing and growing and growing. And then they have to move offices, and then the stock just keeps growing and growing and growing. I imagine obviously stocks are a little bit smaller, so maybe it helps there, but what kind of space is required to sort of keep up with your stock demands? Like, I imagine it's quite elaborate.
Yeah, I think we were in a similar scenario. I think we moved 5 or 6 times, not due to people growth, but to stock growth going up and down. We moved out of the garage to then Techno Park, and then we moved 4 or 5 times because our stock is pushing us around. And then outsourced our DC and then insourced it. And now we do have industrial in Kuils River. That's where our big DC is, and that can manage quite a big volume up and down scale. So we sort of in the right areas where we have to be with our stock and not in your office or in your room.
We're lucky that our product is a bit smaller, that we can get away with it, but still it's a sizable warehouse that we need now to just manage the stock and always ensure we have enough stock that we don't run out at the end
So
of
it's
the day.
comfortably more space for the stock than for the actual people working on sort of everything. That's always such a fascinating thing for me with sort of like apparel-based companies, where I just don't fathom how much stuff you actually need to serve. Like, I mean, 4 million odd pairs of socks, like that's a lot of space. Like,
Yeah, I think that's also what the public don't always see. And that's the back end of a business, a full-on distribution center with DC and pickers and packers. It's a whole specialist operation on its own that we also came to learn along the way, because I was the picker and packer. We were the warehouse managers, and now that's an absolute specialist logistical division of the company. It's nice to see an infrastructure that they need to actually run an operation.
do you imagine one day it's going to be like Amazon robots running around, or still like the human touch for now?
For now, the human hand is great to touch a product and to get it out of a picking bin and send it with a courier. It's, if someone can give that technology, it will be interesting, but let's see.
One of the things, I was checking out your website, sort of your timeline thing, and one of the things that I somehow missed, I don't know, just blanked on socials or something, was Versus Lab. What is that?
It's our Versus factory, so we stamped it as the Versus Lab.
Love the phrase.
We opened it last year, in actually almost today, a year ago. We opened the factory, so it's our own in-house factory where we do all the printing on our socks. So it's something that we outsourced for a long time in the business, but last year made the decision to in-source all of that, to also, as we chatted earlier, for us a quality standard and just to have that hands-on approach with it. So that's where the Versus Lab comes in.
It's a lot of behind closed doors. There's a lot of IP also that we protect. So obviously you sort of miss that. It is, I think it's a year open already. And we just didn't like the name of a factory. It's so mundane and it's been used for so many centuries. And a lab just sounds like a high-performance lab where we can test actual products.
Super cool.
On
But
the
I mean, your
floor.
stuff is high performance as well. Like, it's not lacking technology. Like, I always thought, okay, cool, a sock is a simple thing, but I'm pretty sure you guys are going to tell me very quickly, no, it's not quite that simple.
No, almost 10 years in the game, socks is definitely not just socks. We still get a lot of, at expos or something, people will tell us socks are just socks, but looking at the technology, what goes into it, what is possible, it's a highly specialized product. The machines that are available, the yarns that are available, technologies, the developments, all of that. It's a big part, and it's a very specialist product that you can do a lot with, and that we also still learn new stuff as we go along. We don't know everything, but we learn a lot.
I remember being like a youngster way before you guys sort of came into existence, and like every pair of socks was always super uncomfortable because the freaking seams were always underneath your toe and they were in the wrong like spot. And like now it just seems like a thing of the past where everything is just, it's like, I mean, your stuff is absolutely gorgeously designed. And one thing I think, especially since we worked together back in 2021, I'd have pretty much bought exclusively Versus stuff, not because you guys are great, but just because it works the best. But one thing that is very strange for me is that your stuff is indestructible. It doesn't like change shape. It doesn't like get holes and stuff. Or I haven't managed to get holes in any of my things. Like, it's just lasting, which on the downside of that, it also means that like your customers don't have to get, like, if once their sock drawer is full, there's only so many socks you can sort of jam in there. Is that a concern, that your stuff is going to be too well made for people to continually need new stuff?
It's something we want to put the best product out there, so we always make sure it's something we spend a lot of time on. Also, always how we can develop our product, how we can improve it. We're not happy with, or we don't want to be mundane or just stop where we are. We're always looking at how we can improve. It is always something you have to juggle around between the sock lasting too long or not, but we'd rather put out the best quality product, and at least there's a lot of different designs and options, and you always want to keep your sock drawer fresh. So that's always a push from our side to make sure you have the latest and greatest in your cupboard.
I'm quite fortunate that my sister seems to have gained an affinity for my socks whenever I've gone home. So especially your like white trainer socks, those like shorter ones, those are always getting nicked. So I've unfortunately got a little bit more room that has started to make its way into my cupboards. But again, dare I ask you guys, do you guys have a favorite design so far? There have been so many.
I know what Jurgens' favorite is. Just a plain black.
I'm a classic high quality white sock.
Really?
I can die
out
with
of
the
all
classics.
out of all the amazing designs?
If I ask the people, if you can choose one sock and you have to wear it for the rest of for the rest of your life, what color will that be? And I will take the black and white. So that's the classic. Still I die. And it will always be, for me, the classics. So versatile.
It's the staple, always the staple. You can do whatever you want on a sock, but a good black and white sock will always be.
Are you also sticking with the black and white sock here?
I enjoy my black and white socks, but I enjoy the printed ones as well. It's very difficult to just pick one. But I must say our newer like the merino socks and trail running socks, just appreciating the technology and the step up in quality that we have there so I'm enjoying them at the moment.
The merino socks have been very cool because you changed the logo at the back.
Yeah,
where's the Versus logo gone in that?
It was something that the rest of the team asked Jurgens as well, and he kept on pushing. Go for the merino sheep at the back, but it's been really successful, and the look of it. The rest of the team approves of that change now. But it's something cool add on to it.
We sort of went bold with the merino sheep and actually done some research on that animals, and it's amazing what they can sustain. Sustain? Yeah. Minus 20 degrees.
Seriously?
And plus 50 degrees. And that's the range. Imagine we get one garment that can handle that. And that's the amazing of that animal. And there's no human-made or synthetic material that can compete with that type of natural fiber. And that's the sheep. So that's amazing. They operate in the snow and then in the heat. And that you're talking about the Karoo and that type of areas.
That's crazy.
And that's the humans can't with a synthetic fiber can't compete close to that one.
I was going to ask, who's the poor sheep that got subjected to these temperature tests and flown across the world to different deserts and then
at least he's got the right jacket on.
Yeah, he's well prepared.
That's amazing. So,
it is amazing.
And that actual fiber then obviously changes the design, or not design, but the way it performs so much. That's really cool.
Are selective where we put the merino. It's mostly on the toe caps and the heel, and for cycling or running or hiking, yes, it does an amazing job. For keeping people's toes warm.
One of the things I had planned to sort of ask you guys when I was, okay, cool, we can have a chat. And I was going to ask, why has there been a reluctance to sort of go away from socks to other types of apparel? And now I'm seeing like you've got a lot of different types in one very specific genre. Like it's actually very, very broad, the amount of sort of categories that you're perfectly sort of catering to. Does it feel like, even though it's within sort of the sort of sock category, does it feel like you're stretching yourselves quite a bit to a lot of different domains?
It's something that we dabbled with a lot is, okay, do we stick to Versus socks? Do we go into apparel? Do we go into other things? And as I said, dabbled in it, but then every time it brought us back to stick to what we know. There's a lot of stuff that we can still do with socks. It's a product that we enjoy. It's something that as you said, there's a lot of different things you can do with the product. There's different yarns and options and all of that. So we want to be the world champs in socks, in performance socks. So that's what we sticking to. We feel that looking at other things, if we go into that, it's more just a fun project and something we do, but our main product will always be socks, and that's our main aim.
That's awesome. And obviously that's then very also tied to the sort of sports and stuff that you guys have been doing that you understand intimately and that you're constantly sort of showing up at. Obviously, we chatted about Comrades earlier and some of the other big sort of Cape Town things. How's the experience of like rocking up at those big expos sort of been? Are those super important sort of in the industry, or is it just something that you thought was okay, great? It's great to show some presence at a place we know our fans will be.
Yeah, for us, we are fortunate to have these big running events and cycling events on our sort of doorstep, and it's a brilliant way for us to engage with the end consumer directly, face to face. It's not an online channel. They can ask any question, and we are happily to answer all of that questions that they do have. Yeah, it won't change. It's a big strategy of us. We'll have a presence at most of the big expos where we can be, and to engage with the end consumer and also gather valuable information that is being shared there.
And it's always a exciting space to be in as well. Everyone's excited for their race on the weekend. They're there. They're getting all their nutrition and the apparel and everything, getting new socks. So it's a great, exciting experience to be part of for them to look forward to their race on the weekend.
Do you feel a lot of pressure to kind of outdo a lot of the other brands that are showing face there as well?
We want to look our best. We focus on what we're doing. If we feel our stand doesn't look good enough or we don't have enough product, then we'll make a plan and change it. So for us, it's making sure our stand and what we offer is the best that we can offer.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that you inward focused rather than looking to create sabotage.
You must know what the others are doing, but you can only control what you can control.
It's also there's a few expos in a year, so we will always look what's sustainable as well. I mean, you don't want to just be a one-hit wonder, so we sort of need to find a sweet spot where we have a big impression or big presence, but we must also sustain that type of momentum. Can't be like high and then next day we are gone. So yeah, we will just manage the budgets well as well.
I was going to ask, is it very difficult kind of selecting which events you can show up at versus sort of not, or is it quite widely spread sort of across the country to be able to kind of show face at a lot of the events?
It's something that we've figured out over the years. We get a lot of requests for different events and if we'd like to have a stand there, but for us, we figured out which events work for us and which doesn't. So yeah, we have that in line.
We can't be everywhere. It's just we've got just that amount of resources and also people, and then we get also tired and so those where we are rocking up, we're going all well rested with all our resources, all guns blazing, and that's type of our strategy. I've just focused on a few of them and go big.
Do the Versus vans always trek along with the trips?
They used to. Jurgens and myself would go from Cape Town straight through to a Joburg Expo in the van.
That is a drive.
We didn't have budget to stop in between, so we would just drive straight through. So the Versus van used to go up to all the trips, but these days we courier up the stock, fly to whichever expo we need to be. Jurgens and myself are also not at all the expos anymore, so relying on the team and trust our team, and they're doing a great job of setting up the stand, having everything ready there.
There have been quite a few evolutions of the Versus van that I seem to remember. Like, I feel like every time I see it, it's a different design. I'm like, I've seen this before, but not like that. Like, is it just continually getting a facelift, or is the fleet just expanding more than I can keep up with?
It's actually, we branded our personal cars. I think both of us I had a Toyota Tazz, he had a Conquest, and that was our first cars that we didn't brand that because we didn't felt that was completely our ambition or on brand. But yes, as the company evolved a bit, we got a sort of what's practical for the business and what works sort of privately. It is business cars. But yes, branding them is a fun part for us, also to flex our type of capabilities and creative side.
Also on the branding side, from what I remember back from the run party, you had a crazy dinosaur suit running around, but also your mascot, I think his name is Victor.
Victor the sock.
It's Victor the sock. Where did Victor the sock come from?
It was, I think
Way
it was
back.
quite early in the business. It was 2017 or 2018. And I had the idea of let's make this mascot, sock mascot, got in contact with a company in South Africa that make mascots. But then at the end, we got the mascot and it was in our office, but we didn't really know what to do with it. So actually with the first run cruise, Victor was there. I remember there was still a guy that DM'd us and he said, no, he'd love to be the sock mascot. And he rocked up at the run crew, put on the suit. I think he lasted 100 meters, then pulled off the road and he said to me, please, he can't see anymore. Please just take this thing off. So that day we figured out Victor is great to just stand in one spot when it's not too hot or he doesn't have to run. Because it just started, he couldn't see anything inside. It just got all misty. So it's a part of the fun things, but Victor was at the trail run.
I think we should have abandoned him. He's at the back of the warehouse somewhere.
Oh dear.
Shame.
We tried to sell him Black Friday last
saw
year,
that.
but no one wanted to buy him.
One of my mascots are always super interesting for me, especially because I obviously love TikTok. So there are quite a few brands that have been a bit risque with how they use their mascots. And Duolingo, I think, is one of my favorite ones. It's the owl is just absolutely unhinged. So I've always wondered if Victor's been hidden away for misappropriate behavior.
I don't even know where he is at the moment.
I also don't know.
I forgot to ask it, and I'm not sure why, and I don't know if you guys get absolutely tired of it, but where does the name for Versus come from?
It's so originally when Jurgens had the idea for the socks, he came to me and he said, listen, I have this idea for the socks brand, but I can't design. Can you help me? At that stage, I had my own t-shirt, cycling inspired t-shirt company. So taught myself how to design. And so he came to me and I helped him with the designs. So we had the idea of the sock brand, but we didn't have a name. And it was just basically going on Google, looking through a lot of names. We knew we wanted to link it to sports related. At that stage, we were very cycling focused, but we didn't want to give it a cycling name. We always knew let's rather keep it open and we can branch into other sports and it's more a general name at the end of the day. Saw the name Versus, worked on the logo. It's a V and a S in one for the people that don't or hasn't looked at the logo like that. Then just adding to that is we are both competitive. We have a competitive spirit. So when it comes to sports or with just in business, we are competitive. So the Versus name is applicable to that competitiveness as well. And for most sport people as well, if it's you against someone else or one sports team against another sports team or yourself versus yourself, I think it relates to a lot of things in sport.
Awesome. I think it carries through perfectly into what you've sort of built the brand into. I'm going to kind of wrap it up in a sense by asking you to sort of either go back 10 years or to put yourselves in the shoes of any other sort of aspiring entrepreneurs looking to, whether it's in apparel or any other sort of business. Obviously, you guys have gone through immense challenges and made an immense sort of success out of it. And you're continuing to go along that journey, and it's very inspiring to sort of watch. And I think not just for me, but for many other people and definitely all the thousands of people in your Versus community. If you were to sort of have to go back and sort of start again in an entrepreneurial sort of sense, any advice that you would give to yourselves or anyone else sort of starting out?
Yeah, for me, I think you need to sort of absolutely be obsessed with a thing. Don't know what it is, but for us, it started as cycling, and then that sort of chapter closed down, and then the next obsession was to be the world champs in socks, and that's where the obsession lies now. It's not easy, but very obsessed with this thing, and don't want to diversify. This is the thing. So that's in my DNA. You need to be obsessed with something. It's not easy. It's not. You need sort of that abnormalness to make it work. I mean, you hear a lot of entrepreneurs. It's difficult. You're not going to make it, or let's rather take a safe job, because you need to be a bit of crazy to sort of make it work. So if you do have that and it's in your DNA, you sort of stand a good chance to outperform your competition or outmaneuver, or because it's tough, and that's why there isn't a lot of people at the top or in the business that's successful. Because I feel the obsession that's where the obsession thrive in this type of environment where it's really tough.
Yeah, and
The
I
obsession.
think linking to that is a lot of people say to just start. Yes, you must start, but I've seen way too many people that start and then after a month or two, then they get bored and it just lingers into nothing. It's having that obsession, being obsessed with the company and or what you want to build, and just spending the time. And if you're not getting your first order within the next week, you keep on going until you get that first order, and then you go on more. But it's on building blocks. It's not going to be an overnight success. It is working hard. It is building blocks. It is a lot of things that has to come together. But it's staying consistent and working hard towards it.
Powerful stuff. I can feel the obsession and the dedication and the discipline that you guys put behind everything, and it's evident in how Versus has been growing, and I'm sure will continue to grow. So on that note, guys, thank you so much for having the conversation with me, for sharing a bit more about the brand, and you continue to both be an inspiration to me personally, and it's awesome to be a part of the brand from a distance and to watch it as a fan. So thank you for this conversation.
Cool.
Thank you so
Thanks a
much.
lot to you.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
To everyone who watched, thank you for joining me in the spot and for listening to all the wisdom that I've definitely learned. So I quite like these conversations because I get to hijack people that I look up to and ask them questions for an hour and a bit. So it's a lovely privilege for me. So on that note, fortunate to be in the office here today. And again, thanks to everyone who watched and thank you guys again.